My quick vlog today will be about the novel Feet of Clay by Terry Pratchett. As with most of his novels, there is a heavy use of parody and humour to engage with a variety of topics. However, I also want to have a look at some of the less obvious techniques that Terry has used to craft his work and how that has influenced my work within fiction. The story itself covers a variety of topics, engaging with ideas around nobility, crime, slavery, and religion. All of these are shown to the reader through the use of humour, allowing them to engage with the topics in a way that won't automatically cause them to avoid it. For example, there is a discussion around the existence of God, which can be a very heated debate amongst many people. However, thanks to the masterful use of humour, this can be easily overcome. There's a quote from the book: "But the gods plainly do exist," said the priest. "It is not evident." A bolt of lightning lanced from the clouds and hit Dorful's helmet. There was a sheet of flame and then a trickling noise. Dorful's molten armour formed puddles around his white-hot feet. I don't call that much of an argument. This conversation plays with the ideas around God striking down non-believers from on high, by making the atheists in the story effectively immune to the god's wrath, so the predictable narrative that the reader is expecting is subverted and changed to elicit a more humorous response from the reader. This just exemplifies the way in which the entire novel subverts expectations and causes us as readers to take a second look at topics that we may have already made up our minds about. The way in which characters have been created allows you to see how their motivations and backgrounds can affect how they act consistently throughout the story. Each character is developed in such a way as to create unique identifiers and understandable reactions to various situations. And an example of this skilled construction of character is the relationship between Angua and Carrot. Angua, a werewolf, which is a species viewed with fear and suspicion by the majority of characters in the book, tries to control her more base urges, like trying to eat people, so that she can fit in. She tries to leave Carrot, who is particularly ignorant of human interactions due to his upbringing as a dwarf, even though he's a human. When she sees him, in the following section, she believes he's about to ask her to stay with him, and is completely prepared to refuse. "I know what you're going to ask." "You do?" "I know you've been thinking about it. You knew I was wondering about going. It was obvious, was it?" And the answer is no. I wish it could be yes. It never occurred to me that you would say no. I mean, why should you? Good grief, you amaze me. You really do. I thought it'd be something you want to do. Oh well, it doesn't matter really. It doesn't matter? I mean, yes, it would have been nice, but I won't lose any sleep over it. You won't? Well, no, obviously not. You've got other things to do. You want to do. That's fine. I just thought you might enjoy it. I'll do it by myself. What? What are you talking about, Carrot? The Dwarf Bread Museum. I promised Mr. Hopkinson's sister I'd tidy it up. Carrot's upbringing as a dwarf has made it significantly harder for him to pick up on social cues, and so when he engages in this conversation, he is not really aware of the importance that Angua is placing upon it. Instead, he is intent on looking after the Dwarf Bread Museum, something that anyone other than the dwarf does not care about. While his actions are seen without any context, portrays him as either an idiot or someone who wants to mess with Angua's emotions. At this time, his actions are just those of someone with his unique upbringing and worldview. He just thinks differently to the average person, and this is shown throughout the novel. The main technique that has had an impact on my own writing has been the use of foreshadowing throughout the text. The main plot for the story is about the poisoning of the city leader and how that's achieved. The characters spend much of the story trying to discover it, and at the end, find out the poison was in candles around the leader of the city. However, when rereading the story, I discovered various small lines ending segments of the story that related to candles, such as tendrils of fog slipped in around the shutters and brushed against the wall until they were frightened away by candlelight. This and other segments like it are scattered throughout the text. They foreshadow the events of the story and provide hints if you are looking for them. And I was really impressed by this, especially on my rereading of the story, because once I knew what the ending was, I could see all these subtle hints that have been placed throughout the text. I use foreshadowing to some extent in my own story, Purgatory, as an effective way of planting ideas in the reader's head, either overtly or subvertly, and can really help to tie themes together throughout the text. I used it to help my readers to understand what was going on, and also make rereads of my work more enjoyable as they find all of these hints.